Drivin Ivan here, and behind me, one of the most interesting Porsche 914s you've ever seen. I call it the Superbird. Now, my avid viewers will know that I already have many Porsches. I have two 911s, 911 SC. That's the one I bought the cheapest Porsche 911. You can check all of these out just by Googling me, Drivin Ivan, and the car. And I also have a 2000 996 911 Carrera 4 Cabriolet, and also a Porsche 928 5-speed manual, and a Tiptronic Boxster. So this one rounds it all out. I've had a 944 already, so this one to me completes the perfect Porsche collection. Well, besides a modern GT3, but you know, those are a heck of a lot of money. And even these behind me are becoming a heck of a lot of money as well. So, did I make a mistake buying this Superbird 914? Or will I be impressed? Let's find out. Well, judging by the way the internet works, I know that most of the haters will say that I made a mistake. But, you know, I like strange cars, like my 1987 Citroen CX Estate, which I call the Barbie Dream Wagon. So this one really spoke to me. And I actually think it's pretty cool, and I never have to worry about seeing another one at any Cars and Coffee. And a lot of purists have already said, you're gonna put it back to normal, right? On my initial video where I first bought this, and now I've gone through it and sorted it, so it's a good driver now. But I love the shape. I do think it's reminiscent of the Lancia Scorpion and Monte Carlo from back in the day, around the same time period. I mean, even the Ferrari 308 is shaped like this a bit. So, yeah, not stock, but I think it's still super cool. Again, a lot of Lancia Scorpion Monte Carlo from this angle. And then up here, of course, there's the addition, and it makes it more swoopy, and probably does increase the top speed, I would think, and perhaps the handling and that sort of thing. So I think it's cool. I would kind of like to paint it in a Gulf livery. I think that would really set the car off. Not that I'm crazy about orange and black, but this is the way it came. It's the original color of the car, and I do like its looks. You can let me know what you think down in the comments. And of course, please do smash that like button for me, and subscribe too. So no, I'm not disappointed by the looks. I think it looks really cool. I do think standard stock 914s are very cool too, but again, this to me is something special, and I know I'll never have to see another one. Now with the interior, some modifications have been made. I don't think this material on the dash is standard, but I like it. Kind of a Bentley stitching also on the seats, and a little, well, big rip here. It does have seat belts, and the passenger seats, actually for these earlier ones, were not adjustable, and they added that later on. But yes, you can adjust the driver's seat, and that's what matters. Other interesting things to note on the interior are that you don't get the Formula One start key. That would be over here on the 911, and it is also over there on the 914 6s. Well, some of them, and then they took it off, and then they put it back here for the last year. I think that they made them, but there were some changes there. But a traditional key, and the steering wheel looks similar to anything you'd find in the Porsche of the day, even the 911, and that's cool. Same heater as in the 911 also. Well, there's a double one here, but storage tray and some padding back there. Like I said, I do like the seats. Door cards are orange here, and really not too much that you don't need in this car. You've got the fuel gauge, some warning lights, huge tachometer right in the center, a la Porsche 911 as well. Love that. And the speedometer as well. And then other buttons down here like your windshield washer and your cigarette lighter. And it's cool that the period radio here actually works, which is definitely a bonus. It's a 5-speed manual shifter with reverse. So there you go. The interior does not vary too much from the stock car, and that's a good thing. You do get this cool Targa top that you can pull off and remove. really, really nice for the open air motoring aspect. More on that later. But I think the interior overall falls in well with other Porsches of the day and has all of the best features that you really want in your Porsche sports car. Yes, the bodies were manufactured at Carmen. Only the 6-cylinder version was sent to Porsche for final assembly. Of course, being mid-engine, the 914 has a frunk, which in this case has a direct hit on the gas tank there. That's where you fill it up. And then heating ducts and brake fluid and things like windshield wiper fluid and all of that, the lights. So this one actually has the fuel injection extra in the trunk, which is nice to have still, just because it's original. So a decent sized trunk, I'd say. You also, of course, get the bonus rear trunk as well. Pretty cool. Spare tire and a jack as well. Powering my 1970 Porsche 914 is a 1.7-liter, 8-valve dual overhead cam engine, 79 horsepower at 4,900 RPMs, and 97 pound-feet of torque at 2,800 RPMs, and made it to a 5-speed manual. 0 to 60 was about 13.9 seconds with a top speed of 116 miles per hour. Now in 1974, the 1.8-liter came out, and that did a little bit better. Also, the 2-liter became optional from 1973. So you could get a 0 to 60 time if you had the 914-6 of 8.7 seconds with a top speed of 129 miles an hour. The top speed on the 1.8 was 111 miles an hour with 12 seconds to 60. And then the 2-liter was said to get you to 60 in 10 and a half seconds at 118 miles an hour for the top speed. They all weighed right around 2,100 pounds, which of course was very light with the mid-engine layout, a great handling car. And actual fuel economy from people that own these is anywhere between 15 miles per gallon and 22 miles per gallon. So there you go. Sounds a bit like a Beetle, doesn't it? So a lot had happened before the Porsche 914 even made its debut at the Frankfurt Motor Show in 1969. It was a joint venture between Volkswagen. It wanted something new besides their bus and their Beetle and their Fastback and even the Carbon Ghia, which is a pretty cool car. Check out my review of that one. But they wanted to team up with Porsche. They thought it would be a good idea. Porsche wanted to have an entry-level car that was not like the 911 or the 912, the 4-cylinder 911, that was marketed towards entry-level Porsche buyers. So the 914 seemed like a great idea, but what happened was Porsche's man in charge passed away and leadership was passed to another person. So Nordhoff had passed away in 1968 suddenly, and then leadership went on to Lotz, and basically that changed everything because the agreements that they had were suddenly not agreements anymore. So what ended up happening was the car was still going to be built, but it was going to be more expensive. So they used the front suspension from the Porsche 911 and then some parts bin parts from Volkswagen and put it all together. But it was so expensive that was pretty darn close to the 911 if you wanted a 914-6. So they did not sell as well, under 4,000 cars. But what it did give the Volkswagen from that front end of the Porsche 911 is some really nice handling. Very interesting transmission because it is a dogleg first. That's done so that you can be in second and third easier, and that's for the racetrack. And the Porsche 911 steering, yeah, I feel it. And I love the way you stare out just like the 911. And you can see the edge of the car really easily. You see all around you. And, you know, for its day, this was an incredible handling sports car. Engines behind you. So it's got all of those elements that make, in my opinion, true Porsches incredible. Steering has lots of feedback. Like I say, know that you just ran over a coin, but not only that, you know that it might have been a penny, nickel, dime, or a quarter. You know what it was. That's how good the feedback is to the steering wheel. Love it. Love the big tachometer too. So after its debut at the Frankfurt Motor Show in 1969, it did go on the market as a VW in Europe and as a Porsche in America, and it had the 1.7 liter engine that this one has, and well, it was not very well received actually. A lot of journalists thought that it just wasn't fast enough, or the shifter didn't quite feel right. And you know, hey, maybe they have a small point there, but Motor Trend actually made it its first ever import car of the year. So some people out there liked it, and I think the general public liked it too. Over 115,000 of these sold. Like I said, almost 4,000 of the 914.6s. So almost 119,000 cars were sold, and this was a long time ago, and those numbers were actually pretty good. So it was a popular car. I certainly think it is a cool looking car, and I think the public agreed. Production lasted until 1976, and strangely, the 914.6, Porsche wanted one more entry-level car until the 924 came out, so they actually did reintroduce the 912E for 1976, just 1 year. That's pretty cool. But yes, the 924 and the 944 and so on were to come afterwards. In terms of comparing this poor man Porsche to, say, the 924 and the 944, well, I like the 914 better. It's got that Porsche 911 front end, and I just love the way the steering feels. I've driven actually a pretty stock version of this not too long ago, so I remember it, and the steering on mine is quite similar, and that was a really nice condition car. So this one is not so bad, but I do love the steering, and just the fact that, you know, the engine is behind you. Well, that's traditional Porsche, and to me, that really makes it more desirable to me than the 924, 944. I did have a 944, as I said, and I sold it. Check out my full review of that one. I've also reviewed the 912. Very fine car, very cool one that I reviewed. Check that one out elsewhere as well. But this is actually my favorite poor man's Porsche. I'm glad to own one. So the 914 was gone, but they are getting quite popular, just like air-cooled Porsches like the 911, and have really come up in value lately. If you want one of these, well, you're going to have to pay between $11,000 and $75,000 to $85,000, depending on if you want the 1.7, 1.8, or the desirable 2-liter as well with the later shifter. Yes, there were upgrades made to these cars throughout the years, and the bumpers were changed, some things in the interior were changed, and that shifter was changed, so that makes the later cars more desirable. A real 914.6 can set you back quite a bit of money, anywhere from 100, 110,000 all the way up to, I think, in the mid 500,000 range. So they are extremely collectible, if they're original, of course. Lots of cars like this one are out there that are not going to be everybody's cup of tea, even though it's my cup of tea. But other cars that have been modified with 6-cylinder engines, even 8-cylinder engines, Porsche built one of those, they're out there as well. But of course, lots of times, if they're not super original, that takes away from the value. But for me, I don't care about that. I think that this one here is perfect for me, and I like the way it looks. Again, I'd like to put some Gulf livery on it. But yes, I am impressed with my Superbird Porsche 914. I think it's really, really cool, and I really love the way it drives. It is quite zippy. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button if you haven't. Check out my Drivin Ivan Cats YouTube channel. Search for any car at Ivan Cats. Also Drivin Ivan Cats on Instagram, the real Drivin Ivan on TikTok. Check out my literal video for Chris Isaac's Wicked Game, my Free Your Mind music video that has a lot of my car collection in it. Want to know exactly what my car collection is? Just Google, what does Drivin Ivan drive? and look for my second video, which is a music video, and that'll tell you all of my personal collection. Again, thanks for watching. I'm Drivin Ivan.